Hi, Emily. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Hi, it's great to be back. Great to see you again.
Absolutely. And you have so much to offer. I just can't wait to dive into everything we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, would you just tell the listeners a little bit about your background and sort of what you brought you to the space you're in today?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. And I'm honored to be here. So thank you for having me. My name is Emily Hayden. I am from Houston, Texas originally. I lived out on the West Coast for about 7 years, and it's definitely something that just brings so much happiness to my life. I'm really big on nature, the ocean, the mountains, the sunshine. Nature is where I really come to life. Professionally, I have been in the fitness industry since 2013, so almost 10 years now. Before that, my dad he's a doctor of naturopathy and a nutritionist. He also had his own gym. So I grew up in the health and fitness space. When I was at the age of, 5 or 7, I was sitting there like screaming at his clients, one more rep, you can do this, in the gym. And so that's where my background comes from. I've always loved being active and healthy and fit. In high school, I played, volleyball, basketball, track and field. I did swimming when I was younger. And then when I got to college, I really fell in love with weightlifting. Weightlifting became the new avenue that either one, I could relieve a lot of stress through, and two, that I could just challenge myself with. And after reaching a bunch of goals that I had set for myself, like doing X amount of pull ups or the highest box jump at the gym, I needed something else to push myself. So I started competing in a sport of bodybuilding, and I competed as an amateur until 2016 when I earned my IFBB Bikini Pro card. And I competed as a pro for a couple of years, and now I'm not currently on stage. But it's definitely just such an amazing platform that I've been able to build my livelihood, my brand. My brand is called Evolve with Emily. I am huge on personal development and the continuous journey of becoming the best version of you. So that's actually what I help other people do now, because throughout my, almost 10 years of competing, I documented a lot of it online through my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube vlog documentary channel people can check out if they want, and also a podcast, Evolve with Emily, where I just share how my experience in life is helping me to evolve and grow and become the next best version of me. And by doing that, I hope to, lead people into the next best version of themselves as well. So that's kind of a little recap of who I am, where I come from.
That's amazing. We all need to be the next best version of ourselves. So that is so
Yeah.
important. And I'd love to dig into some of those mindset things. But one of the things you and I were talking about before we got on the online is really the difference in the competitive, because people look at you as a bikini pro and all the work that you've put in and where you are. And that's what, a lot of people want and want to get there. But maybe that's not when you're looking at an everyday lifestyle, when you're looking at everyday health and fitness, where people are or should be when they're not really in that space where they're competing. So can we talk a little bit about that and kind of the spectrum you see there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to share that again, health and fitness and even competing, it's all on a spectrum, but competing is the very extreme side of the spectrum. So when we have everyday lifestyle clients that are looking to be healthy and fit and tone up and look great in a bikini, those are all very attainable goals. People can do that, but what they shouldn't do is take a stage shot from somebody like myself who's on stage, and say, I want to look like that. Because when you go to that extreme, you have to understand what really goes into that. And also understanding that even as competitors, we don't always, we compete. It's kind of like game day for us, right? Like we get ready for the show. We look that way for the show. And the truth is that it's such low body fat levels that it's actually not healthy for women, especially, to stay at that low level of body fat year round. It's not good for you. It's not good for your hormones. It's not good for your health. So we don't do it either. We dip in for the show, and then ideally we dip right back out. Now, some of us get hooked on competing and we compete back to back to back, and we probably do it too much. And that's where you can start to have some health and hormonal issues. I think competing is an amazing sport. I think even everyday lifestyle clients, if they have a goal of doing it, do it. It was one of the best experiences of my life, but it is really important to understand that it's not something that should be done back to back for years without taking time away from the stage and away from that low level of body fat. So it is absolutely possible for the people that dedicate themselves and, really work hard towards it. It's just, I like to be that voice to let people know ahead of time, make sure that if this is something that you do it healthy, you have really great guidance of someone who's been there, who can help you after the show to slowly introduce more foods, more calories, slowly add a little bit of healthy body fat back on, and to not, avoid that rebound. You'll see a lot of competitors rebound sometimes, and there's just so many things at effect there. Like when you're at really low levels of body fat, sometimes the hormone that lets you know if you're full or not, sometimes that's off. And if that's off, it can be really difficult to control your eating, and even to know, am I truly hungry, or is there something hormonal happening here, which I'm sure you could, elaborate on for them. But it's just something to really keep at the forefront of your mind. It's extreme. It's the most extreme end of the spectrum. So really identify, what do you want for yourself? It's great to gain inspiration from other people, but even better than that, I always encourage people to take photos, put the photos away, go down, put your head down, do the work hard, fuel your body the best way that you know how, with proper nutrient dense foods. 4 weeks later, come and take more photos. Have you improved in those 4 weeks? And if so, like, give yourself a pat on the back and keep going. Always compare yourself to you, gain inspiration from others, but don't compare your journey to anyone else's journey.
I love that. And, I do that with questionnaires. Whenever I start working with people, we do like symptom questionnaires of how you're feeling. And then we can compare that to, because some of those things are so subtle. It's like, oh, you do have more energy. Oh, wait, you are sleeping better. Oh, your hair is getting thicker. Oh, all these little things that you're maybe, because they're slowly happening. So I love the photos too, because then again, like if lose an inch on your waist, or you may not notice it so much, but like really seeing that comparison can
Yeah.
be really helpful.
Yeah, and I'll even have clients that they'll send their check-in photos, and in the written portion, they'll say, I had a hard week this week, and it's week 4 check-in, right? And they're like, I had a hard week this week, and I'm just feeling a little discouraged. Yeah, because I don't see them every day. When I see their check-in photos, I immediately see the progress, and I'm like, this person doesn't even know. So I'll go back to their week 1 photos, and I'll put them side by side, and I send it back to them, and they're like, wait, are you kidding? Is this me? And I'm like, yes. So it's a really fun tool to just be able to show people the progress they're making, because we all usually are our own worst critic. And sometimes it's just hard to notice the improvement and progress that you've made.
Yes. And another thing that you were talking about that I want to go back to that I found interesting, I'm actually working, one of my clients is in this space of competing. And what she was, we were working through, because I'm always trying to maximize and make sure everyone's getting the nutrients they need. And she was talking about that if she hit her macros, that she could lose the body fat and lose the weight, but not eat in a nutrient dense way, and still in this competitive, she was taught, we were really dialing into all her macros, because she does have a coach that's telling her, where she needs to be for competitive, but then really also getting the nutrients and the things you need even in while you're doing it. So there's almost two different like schools of thought here. Yes.
Yeah, and man, I've done it both ways. As a
Mhm.
young, kind of immature competitor, I didn't really, and not knowing too much about health and fitness yet, I found macros, right, which is your
Mhm.
protein, carbs, and fats, your macronutrients that make up your calories in your food. And I was like, oh, perfect. If I hit my macros, I'm good. Not really understanding that nutrition is literally like medicine for your body. You can literally fuel yourself, have better brain function, have better digestion, just based off of your food choices. So here I was trying to fit in these little things into my macros that are not necessarily healthy, rather than looking at it from a nutrient dense standpoint. And as I matured as a competitor, and as I realized I just didn't feel great doing that, I was able to switch into utilizing my macros. So still counting the macros, but utilizing it with very nutrient dense foods that got me the results I was looking for in terms of internal health, internal energy, performance in the gym, and yes, the low body fat levels.
Once you made that shift, could you notice a difference in the way you felt?
Drastic difference. Even something as simple as like cutting out a ton of artificials. So in the competitor world, it's very common to start to get used to like sauces or, just little things to make your food taste better, whether it's seasonings or sauces, or you're drinking certain flavored water, artificial sweeteners and stuff like that. And I realized there was one week where I just realized, and I also like diet soda, but like not a little bit every day. And so there was one time when I cut all of that stuff out, just cold turkey. And literally my inflammation went down. I was feeling way better. I wasn't as sluggish. My cravings went away. Like it was really crazy how those artificials impacted all those things, cravings and energy.
Yes, yeah. So you can do it. You can get the macros in a way with the nutrient dense food that really support your
Yeah.
body. So it's
Yes.
always so much. There's always different combinations of things. And what I think is interesting too is there's so many things on diet, but different things work for different people. So the way you're doing it can, depending on you, like where are your hormones, where are your adrenals, where are all these things that are going on in your body that make it like the right recipe for you.
So true. And that's why it's important just to have a really open mindset when it comes to this and be willing to try different things with your body and different foods. And it's, for example, I had a friend that was eating turkey meat, right? And that's a very common choice of protein because if you get like a lean turkey meat, like a 99.1, it's very lean, it's great for competitors. But she didn't realize that she had a food sensitivity and not an allergy, but just a sensitivity to turkey. And it just took some process of elimination to figure it out. And all of a sudden, she used to have this like distended gut, and it was from the turkey. And she cut that out. She chose a different source of protein. All of a sudden, she's feeling better and no bloating. So it really is wild how it can just differentiate from person to person, which I think makes it even more important to have somebody, like yourself, that's willing to really customize and individualize each thing versus saying, hey, like, yeah, just eat some chicken or eat some turkey.
Yes, absolutely. And if some, it's unfortunate because sometimes people are told food sensitivities don't matter. Like, oh, don't have a food allergy, and so I hear people even coming to me saying like, I've been told that food sensitivities don't matter, and you see it every single day of like, okay, when people eliminate those foods, we see the testing, we see the difference in how they feel, and so episode, if you want to know more about food sensitivities versus food allergies, I do have one on episode 3. So anyone who wants to dive into all the dynamics, because they are very different. So discovering that can be an important part of knowing what you should and shouldn't eat. So switching gears here a little bit in EvolveX, can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you work on and help people with?
Yeah, absolutely. So EvolveX is my 90-day mindset, lifestyle, fitness and nutrition program. So a lot of people in the health and fitness space, they focus on the fitness and nutrition and training, right? So it's like, okay, here's what we're going to focus on for our food. Here's what you do in the gym. But for me, what I found just from my own experience and own journey was that I could never outwork my mindset. I could never outwork a victim mindset, a negative mindset, a mindset that has limiting beliefs in it. So when I went on my own personal development journey and realized how that truly unlocked so much of my life and my success and my relationships, I realized I was like, man, this is a key element that cannot be missed. Like, it is not a complete program unless we're addressing the mindset and what's really going on there. And what I do is I really help people to take an intentional living approach to life. So I help people be intentional from the moment they wake up until the moment that they go to sleep, even with their sleep patterns. Some of the things that we will work on together are, we first start in gratitude. So learning what it really looks like to live a life of gratitude. And I'm very practical in what I do. So, we have a 90-day program split up into 12 weeks. Every week I go on a different topic with them. So the first week, maybe implementing what does it actually look like to live a life of gratitude. So that could be, yeah, sure, wake up and focus on what you're grateful for that morning, right? But one thing that I like to do is to help people identify what are the things that if they were gone tomorrow, you would have wished you had appreciated more today, and really getting into that feeling of it. Because if we just do it as a checklist, like writing down 1, 2, 3, I'm thankful for these things, it doesn't really take root in our heart. But if we're willing to really like sit there, be present, use our breath, and get into the feeling of gratitude, the inner state within us can literally create such a positive momentum for the rest of the day. So it seems simple, and I think a lot of people would agree. Yes, I agree that being grateful is important. I know that, but there's a lot of people that know that and they're not practicing that. So I give them an opportunity to truly put these things into practice. Other things that we focus on are like a victim versus victor mentality. This is huge because I believe that everybody probably goes through somewhat of a stage where they have a little bit of a victim mentality. Maybe they're on a spectrum. Maybe some people have a huge victim mentality and others just deal with it a little bit here and there, but it's important to recognize it. So the victim mentality is the one that is saying, all of the excuses, all of the reasons why you are where you are in life. And here's the reality. The truth is, there are things that are outside of our control completely. So there are absolutely reasons that you did not have control over why you're there. Okay, now what? Right? It's like you can be real about that. You can be truthful about that, but empower yourself to move forward. And the way that you do that is say, okay, this is what happened to me in life. I did not have control over that, and I didn't even deserve some of that. But you know what? I'm not going to allow that to dictate where I go next. The victor mentality says, I will be the one that determines where I go next. And I will make sure that I don't become bitter because of these circumstances. I'm actually going to let these circumstances make me better. I'm going to be more loving. I'm going to be more gracious. I'm going to be a better version of myself. Yes, even the hard and difficult things that we go through, even the ones that we didn't deserve, that no one in this world should ever go through, there is a way to heal and to be better because of these things. So when we talk about the victor versus victim mentality, it's really just helping people to identify, oh man, I'm playing the victim card here, because that's the most empowering moment of self-awareness. Because when you realize you're playing the victim card, yes, it's a hard truth for some people to really take to heart. But once you do, you're empowered to move forward. You can say, okay, I have chosen the victim in my life, but you know what? Today is the day that ends. I'm going to choose to be a victor. I am going to choose to be the person that creates a beautiful life for myself. Because if you have breath in your lungs and a beat in your chest, you were given the most beautiful gift of life, which is life itself. There are so many people that would love to get one more chance at living in this world. So I believe it's our responsibility, but also our beautiful opportunity to get to live life.
Yes, I'm really just changing that mindset. I think that sometimes we grow the most when we're in the hard times. I think that if we all look back at our lives and we see those difficult times were there maybe for a reason for to growth and push us forward and learn new things about ourselves. So if you do look at that as the victor, what are you going to do? Yes, maybe you're here, but what can you do about it? And we were talking before we got online this we past weekend. I was at a conference where Joe Dispenza talked, and he does so
Love
many. Yeah, he is a great inspiration. And he actually was giving us a lot of information about all of the datas are surrounding some of these miraculous things that he's seen, like people be able to walk again, people be able to see that haven't seen. And when you get that collective healing, that collective intention. And I think you were saying with the gratitude, going back to that, first of all, one of the things that he was talking about, which we kind of all know, that sometimes, and you said it perfectly, because just saying, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, it doesn't put us in that emotion where we really feel the gratitude. You can have these thoughts where you're saying, like, oh, yes, like checking the box. This is what I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful. But really, are you like feeling that gratitude? Are you feeling the emotions? And sometimes really attaching those thoughts to the emotion is what gives you that momentum to move forward and do the things you need to do and attract what you need to in your life too.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. And I feel that sometimes people struggle to get into that emotion because we're so in this fast-paced society. A lot of people have a million things to do. So their head is going a million miles a minute. Not to mention you have 3 cups of coffee in you at this point, right? So a few modalities that I like to share with my clients are breathwork and meditation. I think both of these modalities are incredible practices to help you get out of your head and back into your body and into the present moment. And this doesn't have to be something that's overwhelming. Breathwork for you could mean that you do 10 long, deep breaths or 10 box breaths, right? You'd be so surprised at how just 10 intentional breaths can make you so calm and so peaceful and so able to tap into that energy inside. And that produces such a different result, like you're mentioning, than when you're just kind of checking off the list. So also with meditation, there's this meditation YouTube channel. It's just called Great Meditation. And I really like using that one. They have 5-minute meditations, which everyone can find 5 minutes, even if it's in your car. They have 10-minute ones. I think they have a few longer ones, but I really have loved those meditations because it's guided. So I don't have to worry about, am I doing this right? I just press play, I do it. And by the end of it, I feel better every single time. So I like to use those modalities and those practices as a precursor to anything that I'm trying to really embody and feel. Because if I just go from my to-do list and my interviews and my checklist all of a sudden to just trying to be in this energetic, wonderful state, it's sometimes difficult for me to get there. So I like to use one of those modalities to help me be present, be intentional. And in that space, a lot of really incredible things come up, whether that's healing that I need to do and I start processing something, or it's just a clear thought. Clear thought is something that I think a lot of people seek. They're like, I need clarity in my life. It's like, okay, well, turn off the noise of everything not bringing you clarity.
Absolutely. And I think that what you're saying is important and practicing it, because I think once you practice, you can start to feel your body be able to, like, you can use your breath and feel that your body going back into that parasympathetic nervous system. You can feel it calming down. But some people say, like, oh, I can't meditate, or I can't, when you haven't practiced it, it's really hard to do. Do you see that too? I see it all the time where people, if you're not practicing it regularly, almost like building that muscle and putting that time in your day in your space so that you can use it when you're in a stressful situation, when you need it, then you can actually have the skill already to bring it back to where you need it and actually feel your body calming down.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because our daily habits and daily practices are what set us up for success. Not only do they get us to the goals that we want to achieve, but they really become those key elements that help us during troubling or challenging times. So one of the things that we focus on in the Evolve X program is the daily habits. We have this daily habits list that people have to do every single day. And it's really amazing because a lot of people will start a program and they're like kind of good during the week. They might be on it, maybe weekend they're kind of off. We just say every day is day one in the program. You don't have day one, you don't have day two, you don't have day three. Every day is day one. It's your only opportunity, and you only have to do this for today. You don't have to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it next week. Right. And so it's just this little like mindset trick to help focus you to be present in the moment, because oftentimes when we set big goals, sometimes it can feel really overwhelming to say, man, I have to do this for 90 days. I have to do this for 75 more days. And we take on the weight of days that we haven't even gotten yet, that we don't even know if we get yet. So it really helps you just to be present, be in the moment, and focus on, okay, what are the things that I want to cultivate in my mind, my life, and my heart? And what are the practices that I need to do today in order to cultivate those?
Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes when you're looking at that long term and then you don't do it, and then you just give up because you think,
Yeah.
okay, I can't make the 90 day. Oh, I didn't do it for 2 days. I didn't do it for three. Oh, I'm just going to quit because I'm not meeting my goal. But if you think every day, like, okay, this is my day, I'm just going back to today.
Exactly. And another thing that we talk about is the bounce back. So you mentioned sometimes when people get off track. And what I find is when people get off track, normally they say, okay, I will start on Monday, and because they had one bad meal or day or whatever it might be for them, they're waiting an extra couple of days to start. And what I help people do is to understand, the sooner that you bounce back, the sooner that you're back on program, you are going to be on such an upward trajectory than you ever have been. There's a saying that professionals, it's not that they don't ever fail, it's that they're the quickest to bounce back. Meaning, let's say that I'm on a diet program, I'm really trying to feel better and tighten up and whatever. And I get off track at lunch, and I just, for whatever reason, I'm off track. I end up indulging in dessert. I could absolutely say, well, I'm off my program. So, hey, friends, let's go get pizza tonight. Or some people do that. They go overboard. It's like 100% or nothing. And it's like, no, accept the fact that you were off track. But what what was your dinner supposed to be, and get back on that. Did you get your water intake for today? Have you taken your supplements for today? Like, immediately start doing what you're supposed to be doing. There is no tomorrow. You can't start in the morning. Start right now. And helping people to do that, man, it just, there's so much like yo-yo dieting, yo-yo things going on. And what I like people to help people do is to cut all of that out and simply choose the lifestyle that you want to live. Healthy and fit and nutritious, it feels amazing. And so I help people learn to choose these actions out of a place of, I do this because I love myself. Like, I care about myself so much. I want to feel good, and if I enjoy a meal off or dessert, I do it with the intention because I enjoy it. I like it, but I get right back to the things that make me my best self.
Absolutely. Another thing aspect is with exercise, whenever people are not in a fitness routine that's regular, sometimes they struggle to get to, it always feels great once you're in that exercise routine and you don't want to give it up. But sometimes until we get there, it's a struggle. Do you have any advice for people who, want to get back into fitness, maybe aren't consistent, don't get able to stay in that routine?
Yeah. So I actually just started with a client who she had no routine. She, used to work out years ago. And I'm so impressed with her because simply just from working with a coach and having accountability, she's literally like, I have not been this consistent in years. And one thing I actually studied in university was the sociology aspect of why people adhere to a program and what makes them not adhere. And one of the biggest things that helps people to stay on track is accountability and community. So whether that is accountability from a coach, accountability from a significant other, from a friend. So I would say, number one, include somebody, even if they're not on their own journey. If they are, it's definitely way better. But if they're not, it's okay. But tell them, say, hey, would you mind being my accountability partner? I need to hit the gym 3 times a week. Can I text you every Friday and let you know how many out of 3 I hit? And say, hey, do you need accountability for anything? So simply just including somebody else in your plan. And then I would say, when you do go into the gym or whatever your modality of fitness is, right? It could be yoga or boxing or running or anything. Create a plan, have a plan before you go in there. And I actually, all my clients, we do it through an app. So on the app, they have the workout written there. So every single day they're checking that off. And every day it's just one thing they've got to check off. And so I think that the act of going in with a plan, it keeps you accountable. You know what you're doing. There's no leeway of, I don't feel like doing this today. I'm just going to do this. Like, you're really held accountable to it. And then there's this sense of accomplishment after you do it. When you really get to press that check mark, it's like, oh man, I did that. I'm so proud of myself. And then last piece is, I would just say, start slow and attainable. Sometimes I see clients that will go from, I'm not working out at all, to they find a workout program online, maybe even one of mine or something, someone who literally does this for a living. But they go from 0 workouts a week to 5 workouts a week, 6 workouts a week, and they burn out so quickly and they say, oh, I can't do this. No, if you're doing 0 workouts a week, make it a goal of yours to be active in any way 3 times a week and just be consistent with that. Give yourself that opportunity of being consistent, over a long period of time. And when you're ready, add a 4th session in. If you're ever ready for it, add a 5th, right? And that activity can look different. So maybe you're lifting twice a week and you're going for a walk or a run or taking a class once a week. So just be flexible, create some accountability for yourself, and have a plan when you go in.
Yeah, that's great advice because I do think that is people have the intention, they want to do it, but often just getting that to the point where it's consistent is almost the hurdle of where we need to go from maybe nothing or something little that's not consistent to a consistent pattern. Because I think once you actually, like, even with eating or with exercise or with so many things, once you have your routine, you don't want to miss it because you're getting the reward. You feel the benefit of it, and then it becomes habit and enjoyable, but just getting through that bridge. So thank you for that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And
And so,
oh,
oh,
you
yeah.
go
Well,
ahead. Yeah.
else I was going to mention is, sometimes people say, I'm not working out at all right now, but man, I just don't have energy. I don't have the energy. I don't think I can do it. And what I find pretty much every single time is that as soon as they start incorporating some activity in their life, whether that's a walk or a hard workout, they are more energized. They actually have more energy than they did before because moving and being active truly is so good for your body.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I know that's like just getting there, getting that first step. Just take that. Everyone listening, just take that first step. You got it. Every day's a new day. You can do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, and have fun with it too. Find a way to make it fun for you. There was a season where, I come from the weightlifting background, the athletic background, but I tried a cycling class with like the crazy music and the, dark lights and such. And I like fell in love with it. And there was a season where I went for like 7 months straight, like multiple classes a week, and it brought me so much happiness. I loved the energy of it. And then it was weird. At like 7 months, I was like, okay, I'm done now. And I just wanted to do something different. So I did. So I encourage people to have fun, try out different things. These days, there are so many ways to be active, whether it's something like F45 or Orange Theory or yoga or kickboxing, find a way that makes being active fun for you.
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing that is in with regards to getting started, and you probably deal with this regularly, is having it in a way that works for you. Cause like you're saying, there's so many different options and there are so many different ways you can do it. So you can go to the gym if you want that accountability, you can do it at home. There's so many workout programs at home and we were getting it was really interesting to me because we were getting some construction. I was in a season where a couple years ago where I was doing yoga. That was like you were saying with the cycling. I was really into yoga. I was doing it regularly, but when there was construction in the house, where I did my yoga, like the men were walking through, and so I couldn't do it. And I literally could have easily moved my yoga. It's a mat. Like you can do yoga anywhere in a different space. It could have been anywhere in my house, but like that wasn't my routine, and I wasn't doing it because the way I did it was disruptive. So I think that was so interesting to me because it was like, well, really it's just a matter of taking one more step and doing it in somewhere different, but it broke up that routine. So finding a routine that works for you that makes it as simple as possible. You don't have to like overthink it or overdo. I think sometimes getting those things set up in a way that can make it happen in your life too.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I think is important to look at too is I always encourage people to reflect after everything that they do. And in this sense, we'll say it's exercise, right?
Mhm.
So after you've done your exercise or your class or whatever, take a moment inside your car when you're sweaty and the adrenaline's pumping and say, okay, how do I feel right now? And just journal that out, whether it's like in your notes real quick, or maybe it's just a mental chatter that you're having with yourself. Uh, but most likely you're going to feel, "Ugh, I feel better. I feel accomplished. I feel proud of myself. I feel good. I smiled at people when I saw them." You have all these positive feelings. And I think it's important to take note of that so that the next time that you're saying, I don't want to go, I want to skip class, I have a million reasons not to do this, you go back to the list and you say, you know what, I'm not giving myself an option right now because I know that this is good for me. I know that this actually produces good things in me. So I'm going to go and do it. Now, on the opposite spectrum of that, sometimes you will choose to engage in certain things. Maybe it's a coffee date with somebody and you're not realizing that the places and environments that you're putting yourself are actually draining you. They're not giving you much, right? And it's actually a negative experience overall, whether that's people or it's things that you engage in. I have clients that sometimes struggle with like binge drinking, right? And they want to go have fun with their friends. It starts with a good intention, but afterwards, when we really reflect, we see that they don't feel good. They maybe have an actual hangover. It impacts their next day. Maybe they, all these things that are happening, and they realize that the scales are actually out of balance and the negative far outweighs the positive or the initial thing that got them to take action. So what this method of just simply reflecting on your choices does is it empowers you in the moment to not have to rely on momentary willpower. You actually are able to consciously and soberly choose what truly is going to be best for you in the long run. Not best in the moment, because in the moment, a lot of things might feel good, but they're not always what's best for you. So it really helps you to make that choice from a conscious and an empowered way to choose the things that truly do make yourself the best: mind, body, spirit, routine and everything. So yeah, I think choices and being very intentional about those are important.
Well, thank you so much. You've provided us so much helpful information, everything people can use and do every day. So I challenge everyone to really listen to these things and think, how are you incorporating them in your life? Are you doing these things every day? Are you looking at every day as a new chance to get your goals in? So, Emily, it's how can people find you if they'd like to learn more about EvolveX and about you and what you're doing for the world?
Yeah, thank you. So the first way is probably just to go to my podcast at Evolve with Emily. So Evolve with Emily, it's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify. I do have some interview episodes on YouTube as well. They can also go to emilyhaydenfitness.com. That's where you can learn all about Evolve X. And then my Instagram is just my name, Emily Hayden.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.